Hello everybody, welcome back to the Didn't Ask Podcast. As always, I'm your host Djimon, and today I will be diving back into the world of Reddit and see what the people asked Reddit and didn't ask me. I hope you had a good week. I keep saying this and asking this every week myself, but I did have a good week. The weather was a bit shitty. It's been, again, off and on. Sometimes there is sun, sometimes there is rain, and a lot of it at that. But luckily, I don't really have to go anywhere because we're still on lockdowns. Today, again, I will be diving back into the Ask Reddit subreddit, seeing what the people asked there, answering 5 questions over there, then hopping over to the Am I the Asshole subreddit and see if the person that asked the question is an asshole, yes or no. As always, you can listen to this podcast on all the podcast platforms, but since last week, you're also able to listen to this show on YouTube. If you had not listened to any of the older episodes, please go and do that. You will find them on your podcast app of choice. You can also go to the anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod website, and you will be able to find all my older podcasts over there. Those links will, of course, as always, be in the description of this podcast on both the YouTube and the podcast app of your choice. Let's just jump right into the first question of today. This one coming from user Monkey Capped, which is of course a monkey captain, I guess. What TV show have you rewatched more than 5 times and you still find entertaining? I thought it was a fun question to answer, even though I think I kind of have to rework this question because it says more than 5 times, and I don't really think I've watched any show completely more than 5 times. But one that comes very close is the recent High School Musical, the series. I think I've watched that series, like the first season, a total of 3 or 4 times. And I've also listened to the whole album like many a times too. So I would count that as watching it 5 times and still not getting sick of it. The reason why I watched High School Musical, the series, multiple times is the series is really good. It's one of the first Disney Plus shows that Disney offered. And the show is so good because it is a new iteration on the High School Musical franchise, but it also honors the old franchise. So it really honors the movie, and there are multiple characters in the new show that really love High School Musical as a movie series. And that's something that I really hold closely to my heart, because growing up, I was a big fan of High School Musical. As a kid that loved to dance as a professional dancer, it was fun to see that there was such a big emphasis on dance in those movies. And my sister at the time played basketball professionally. So it was basically a mix of the two worlds coming together in a very harmonious way. So seeing the new TV show, it being in 4K HDR, looking absolutely fantastic, having the similar structure as an Office, where it's half like real life soap, half interviews. It's so good. And then up to that all the songs in the show are so cool and so unique and totally different than that the original movies are, even though it does have some original songs from the original movies. Excuse me. But yeah, so I watched it one time just through week to week, because that's the release schedule that Disney uses. They release episodes every week, which I love and hate at the same time. I love it because it keeps you interested in the TV show. It makes you wonder what's going to happen next. Where are they taking this TV show? What are they doing? And it just builds your excitement for the show. It's of course a detriment that I have to wait a week like Netflix does. Netflix just drops everything at once. It's super easy. You can watch through. I've watched through Castlevania, the final season 4, in a couple of days, in 1 week basically. I watched through that the whole season. With High School Musical, the series, you of course had to wait a little. So I watched them week to week. But when the show was fully done, I was like, well, I think it's time to just go back in and watch the whole show again, because I wasn't really doing much and I really liked the show. So I was like, I'm just gonna watch the whole thing again, knowing the music a little more now. So I thought this was gonna be fun. So I watched it a second time. But then Disney decided to drop the sing-along version. And again, as a big fan of the original movies, I was so excited that the movies have a karaoke option, or karaoke version, so you can sing along with the actors in the movie scenes. So when I saw that Disney Plus did this for High School Musical, the series, I was very excited, and of course went back in and watched all the episodes again, but now on the sing-along version. So yeah, I think that is the TV show that I've watched the most and still am not sick of, because High School Musical, the series, just started their second season, and so far we have had 2 episodes, and they're all fantastic. They're really great. Everything is, again, like I said, it's you wondering what's going on, what's happening, who's dating who, what are the dynamics between the characters, what songs are they gonna sing. This season they're focusing on a theater school award show type thing, and therefore everybody thought that they were going to do High School Musical 2, but they decided to do Beauty and the Beast. And of course everybody knows the songs from Beauty and the Beast, and I'm very much looking forward to how they will reenact these songs, how they will reinvent the older songs from the animated movie and make them new again for the High School Musical, the series cast. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, long story short, to your answer, Monkey Captain, what TV show have you rewatched more than 5 times and you still find entertaining? Again, I didn't watch the show 5 times, but I feel like I can, pepper it around, because I've watched the show 3 times and then listened to the album through from beginning to end many more times. So the answer would be High School Musical, the series. Thank you very much for your question. Moving on to the second question of today. This one asked by user ambitious-hedgehog93, and they ask, you suddenly find yourself on stage for your own TED Talk. With no prior planning, what's the topic you can discuss for 18 minutes? And this is a fun question, because in school, TED Talks are so important. All throughout high school and even into college, TED Talks were so important, because TED Talks really are a small, quick history on a certain topic. So it's very cool to see that somebody is very knowledgeable about something and they can explain something in like 20 minutes or 15 minutes. And so my teachers would really abuse the fact that TED Talks exist, and they would give you like TED Talks to be like, oh, this TED Talk is about this historical piece, so just watch the TikTok? So just watch the TED Talk and you'll be fine. Having to do my own TED Talk is going to be a little harder. And the question is, does it have to be serious? Like, I understand that we have TED Talks, but there are also things called TEDx, which are a little more, based on the younger audience, and you know what I mean? So they're a little less serious. But if I really had to choose, I would either pick why wrestling is not fake, or at least, explaining why wrestling is actually a competitive sport, or I would talk about the games industry as a whole, because I think I can talk about that for about 15 to 20 minutes. Because again, we are seeing a development in the way the people think about games, but sadly we are still very much behind on the thinking. At least not me, but the people that are leads of newspapers and news websites and stuff like that, because they still think that video games cause violence and are for lazy people and are not doing anything good to our society. Luckily, here and there are some scientists and doctors that are doing research on video games and the behavioral differences that people have, when they play games. But I still think that would be a great TED Talk to listen to, or for me then to give. So yeah, that would be one. And again, the other one would be something to do with professional wrestling, and probably why professional wrestling is not a fake bunch of theater, but it's actually, a great way of entertainment. And I'm looking through the comments right now under this post, and somebody else said why professional wrestling is actually a form of performing arts. And I really think that is the crux of this whole story involving wrestling, because wrestling is such a fascinating sport, I have to call it, because people again keep saying like, oh, wrestling is fake, yada yada yada, but it's one of these things is like, what makes something real? Is it fake because they have storylines? Maybe, but I don't see why a professional wrestler is different than a UFC fighter in a sense. I understand that a UFC fighter goes into a cage and, fights, quote unquote, to the death or to they can't anymore, without having the outcome known to them. But I feel like in professional wrestling, both people really have to work together to create a certain form of entertainment, to create a certain event. And I feel like professional wrestling in that sense is harder than a actual fight, because in a actual fight, think about UFC, think about boxing, you name it, people are out for themselves. They are looking to, fight to get a win. In professional wrestling, it's more about the entertainment. So they're not only thinking about themselves, they're thinking about their opponent, they're thinking about the crowd that's there, they're thinking about the commentary team. So they're thinking about a lot of things at once, and, switching their mind to any of them to create the most entertaining match that they can. And therefore, I think that professional wrestling is super underrated in what it is. And I feel like more people should be watching professional wrestling and not think about the fact that, oh, wrestling is fake, so I shouldn't be watching it. Because, and this is something that I've heard a professional wrestler say, is just like, people think that professional wrestling is fake, but are super enthralled when a character in Game of Thrones rides a fucking dragon into a village. There is like a double standard there. How is it so that we can watch Breaking Bad and can be taken by that story for many years and be totally fine with that, but also watch professional wrestling and saying that is fake and not enjoying it because of that? There is like a very much a disconnect in that way, and people are not looking at professional wrestling, the way that you should be looking at it. It's entertainment. That's what it is. You can call it sports entertainment, you could call it whatever, but it is and will always be entertainment. And to me, professional wrestling is closer to a Game of Thrones show than it is to a UFC show, even though it looks more like a boxing / MMA fight. So yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. So yeah, there was a bit of a long answer to a question that could actually be very short. So the question asked by user ambitious-hedgehog93, you suddenly find yourself on stage for your own TED Talk. With no prior planning, what's the topic you can discuss for 18 minutes? And I feel like I did almost half of that in this short amount of time, and I didn't really actually, talk about the full reasons why. But it would either be why games are good for people, or at least the good sides of games, or my love for professional wrestling and why professional wrestling is actually the best form of entertainment. So yeah, thank you for your question, Ambitious Hedgehog 93. Moving on to the third question of today. What's the worst possible way to be rejected? And this is a fun one because I've not really been in a relationship, and that may come as a shocker to hear. I don't really think it is. I'm a very, very Einzelgängery person. I'm very, on my own. Don't really leave the house much, and when I do, I go to a certain spot or go to my grandparents or watch a movie, and I basically come straight back. Don't really talk to people. Don't go out on to club nights and stuff like that. So I don't really meet new people. But yeah, so the worst way to get rejected is basically when somebody says something very personal to you. When it's just like, oh, you want to go out? And they go, ugh. Or have you seen yourself? Something like that. When they talk about your appearances, maybe. Or yeah, like when somebody just absolutely hammers you down. So just not saying like, oh, I've got a boyfriend, or I'm not interested, whatever. But saying something that's very personal with like, oh, I don't want to, or like, oh, your face looks stupid. Do you think I want to be with you anyway? I don't fucking know. You name it. That's probably what I would think. Yeah, I don't really. This question, I thought it was a good question. Come to think of it, I have not really been rejected that much because I just chill in the DMs because it's warm in the DMs. So, But yeah, just somebody just flat out rejecting you for a certain aspect of either your appearance or your character that's not necessarily vile. Would actually be the worst way to be rejected, I think. So what's the worst possible way to be rejected? I would say somebody rejecting you because of your appearance and saying something like very nasty about it, or somebody pointing out a personality trait that is not necessarily bad, but they perceive it as bad, and rejecting you for that reason. Thank you, user stupid_cake, for your question. Going on to the fourth question of today. You get to go into any fictional universe for 30 days. Anything you buy, skills acquired, etc. will be transferred to the real world with zero repercussions. Where do you go? This one was asked by user space_time_dragon03. And this was a fun question. As always, there is basically a question about video games every week. And if there's not, I'll probably find a way to fix video games in there. But it says any fictional universe, but of course my head immediately jumps to video games because video games are the best way to figure things out. You know what I mean? We, especially for this question, because we know what a video game can do. We know, how the skill trees work, how the money is made. You name it. So my head immediately jumped to Fortnite. Not only because I play Fortnite basically every day, but also because Fortnite, since last season, I believe, added a way for you to obtain gold bars. And in the previous season, you can max out at 9,999 bars. Now they dropped that down to 5,000, I believe, from the top of my head. But I would like that very much. If I can just go in for 30 days into the world of Fortnite, play some matches, kill some people, do some quests, and go out with 5,000 gold bars, that would be very nice. Because 5,000 gold bars would be worth a lot of fucking money. And it's also gold, so you can just hold it. You can, you can store it somewhere, and it would probably gain value over time, which means I have an endless supply of money. And again, the gold price is pretty high right now. So if I just, give one gold bar, I'll probably get like $10,000, if not more. So I think that would be a very good option for me, especially because the world of Fortnite, pretty chill, pretty safe, you know what I mean? You respawn when you get killed. It's not the worst way to go, you know what I mean? The second game that my head jumped to was Saints Row, and especially the Get Out of Hell game. The Get Out of Hell game is a little smaller. It was meant to be a DLC part of Saints Row 4, but then got its own release because it got a little too big for the developer. So they decided to make it a standalone thing. But in that game, if you are basically going near the end of the gameplay, you will get guns based on the 7 original sins, and one of them is greed, of course. And this gun makes it so you earn money every time you kill someone, and that seems like a great way to make money because the game is Get Out of Hell, so there are a lot of demons around you, and you're just in hell. And so you kill demons, which is nice, of course, because, get all the demons out of there. But then you earn money while doing it. So I think that's a really good way to make money because you just, again, you kill people and make money, and then you just take all the money out after the 30 days. But I still think that the Fortnite idea is a little better just because, again, you're collecting gold bars, and if I have 5,000 gold bars that are all about a kilo, I will be stacking money hand over fist. Now, I was looking through the comments of this question, and the comments were very smart. They thought this through. But I say that because somebody named Toxic Banana 69. Of course, there is a 69 in there, especially in the combination with the banana. But they said, are cheat codes allowed? Because if cheat codes are allowed, then Sims 4. And again, Sims 4, Sims 3, I'm a Sims 3 player. I didn't really like Sims 4, so, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But they make a very good suggestion, because if cheat codes are allowed, that means that Sims as a whole franchise is absolutely the best option for you to go. First off, you have the ability to buy a house outright because you can use the code free real estate, and then you can just buy any house in the whole town. Then you can use your cheat codes like motherload and stuff like that to gain wealth. So you have that, and with that wealth you can renovate your house if you want to and buy everything you need for that house. You can buy a pool, you can buy art, you can buy groceries, whatever, and you can buy a car in some cases. You can buy pets too. So having that option is really interesting, because then you can just basically build the life you want, because you can just give yourself endless money, and you can, also in The Sims especially, there are real human traits that you can use on a day-to-day basis, because you can study. So you can study cooking, you can study guitar playing, you can study languages, you name it. You can basically do it in The Sims. So that's an actual very interesting choice. So again, going back to the question asked by user space_time_dragon03. You get to go into any fictional universe for 30 days. Anything you buy, skills acquired, etc. will be transferred to the real world with 0 repercussions. Where do you go? Even though I would like to go to Fortnite again to get the 5,000 gold bars, I really think that Sims would be a better investment for me because, again, you can buy a house outright. You can use the cheat codes, if we're allowed to do that, for wealth, so I can buy everything I want. But also in the meantime, study, like I said, guitar playing, cooking, whatever, through reading books and doing whatever in the game. And then transferring all of that knowledge and, wealth to the real world. That seems like the greatest thing in the world. So thank you again, space_time_dragon03 for your question. Moving on to the final question of Ask Reddit for today. Which US state do you want to travel to and why? This one was asked by the user Worstest Grammar. And this one is pretty easy for me. I would love to go to New York. I have wanted to go to New York for quite a while now. I am one of the lucky individuals that has gone to the United States a couple of times and have visited both Florida and California and had a great time doing both. But I would love to go to New York and see what New York looks like because I have never been to New York. So I would love to go to Manhattan and Brooklyn and you name it, Long Island, to see how the life is over there. That being said, I would also love to go to some other states. Again, I'm a big fan of Charlotte Flair, the wrestler. She, of course, is from Charlotte, North Carolina. I would like to visit North Carolina and see what Charlotte looks like, you know what I mean? The person, but also the place. How is Charlotte? Is it cool? Please tell me. And then you are of course have some mid-country stuff. I would love to go to Washington because I've never been to Seattle before, and Seattle seems like a very cool city to visit. Because of course they have the Space Needle. They're very quite hipstery town, from what I know and what I've seen. Also very close to Twin Peaks, I believe, right? That's Seattle. So I would like to visit Seattle, which is of course in Washington. So I think that would be the three actually states that I would love to visit the most. So it would be New York, to of course go to New York City and all the things around that. I would love to go to North Carolina to see Charlotte because I'm a big fan of Charlotte, the wrestler. And I would love to go to Washington to visit Seattle and the Space Needle and everything that comes with that. Thank you for your question, Worstest Grammar. And now moving on to the final inquiry of today. This one asked by user dad-sad-dad on the Am I the Asshole subreddit. And they ask, will I be the asshole if I confronted the woman who keeps staring at my daughter's room? My fiance, 38 female, and I, 37 male, bought a new house at the beginning of the year. There was some work to be done before we could move in, but we've been here for about a month now with our daughter, a 10-year-old female. When we were in the process of buying the house, we met the previous homeowners, a pair of sisters who appeared to be middle-aged or thereabouts. Their mother had previously lived in the house until she had passed away, although she had passed away in the hospital and not actually in the house itself. While we were working on the house, I noticed that one of the sisters has a habit of driving past an almost daily basis. Sometimes she'd sit outside in her car and watch us work. I suppose my fiance and I hoped that this would stop, but the woman still drives past multiple times a week at around midday and parks across the street to stare at the house. My daughter's bedroom is at the front of the house, and we're fairly certain that from where she is parked, she can see in. While I know that she is grieving her mother and likely does not have any sinister intentions, this behavior is making us uncomfortable. I know that the house has sentimental value to her and that this may be a part of her grieving process, and she isn't really doing any harm, but my fiance is refusing to open the curtains of the kitchen window and worries that she is becoming paranoid that whenever she looks outside the window, she'll see her. I know technically she's parked in front of the neighbor's house across the street, so I don't know what power I have to move her. Will I be the asshole if I confronted her and asked her to stop? And I can tell you, that's sad, Dad. Of course you're not an asshole. It seems like a very weird thing. Like if it happens once or twice, in the course of a month, then you can be like, oh, it's fine. She has a grieving process, whatever. But the woman coming over to your house every day, that seems a bit excessive to me. And also, again, it seems a bit dangerous when, like you said, your kid is changing in one room because her room is at the front of the house. And even though she might not be looking at that, it still is kind of weird for somebody to legitimately look into your house on a daily basis. So that said, that you are clearly not the asshole here, and you're just doing what you can to protect your family. And, again, what they say, a happy wife is a happy life. And your wife seems very concerned by the behavior of the previous homeowner. So the best thing to do is go to the woman as soon as you can and make sure to talk to her and just explain to her, what you're going through, saying that you understand her, but also, pointing out that this is a line. You're here every day. This is not normal. And if you keep doing this, I'm going to call the cops because I don't feel comfortable with you around every day of the fucking week. So yeah, that said, that you are not the asshole, and thank you for your question. And that has been it for this week's episode of the Didn't Ask Podcast. As always, you can find this podcast on your favorite podcast service of choice. Just search for the Didn't Ask Podcast and you should see it very quickly. If you have not listened to the previous episodes, please go and do that. You will find them in the same feed you found this episode in. Again, this podcast is also available on YouTube, so search for Didn't Ask Podcast on YouTube, and I think my username should come up very quickly. There's only one episode on that right now, but I'm working on getting most of the episodes on there as soon as I can, so you can listen to all the episodes back to back to back. I will be back next time, and in the meantime, you can check out what I'm watching via tracked.tv. I will put that link in the show description of both the YouTube and the podcast feed. If you have a question to ask me personally, you can go to anchor.fm/didn't-ask-pod, and you can ask all your questions right there, and I can, answer your questions live on air. For now, I'll be saying goodbye, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.